Now let's do something a little different. Usually with my videos I try to do longer, deep dives, but this time I want to do a shorter, quick dive, let's call it. The one that kind of piggybacks off a topic I've been talking about a lot lately, which is the upcoming rematch of the century, set to take place in the Kenobi series between Obi-Wan and Vader, and how much sense another encounter between them does or doesn't make given all we know. And though yesterday I went over all the lines in A New Hope in regards to this, there is one line in Return of the Jedi spoken by Vader to Luke that many people point out or bring up as evidence that another fight between them must have taken place, and let's take a look at that line now.
Come with me.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Okay, so the argument people like to make is that Vader must be referring to a time when Obi-Wan tried to turn him back to the light side, a time when he essentially asked his old friend Anakin to simply turn away from the dark side and to come with him, like Luke is basically saying to him now. And though I will agree that certainly could be the case, and there's a chance the Kenobi series will try to sort of recontextualize this line in that way, and then perhaps even tie it into the reason why Obi-Wan says Vader is...
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
That at some point after their fight on Mustafar, Kenobi encountered Vader again and tried to save him but was flat out rejected. And then now after all that, Kenobi finally realizes or believes there's simply no humanity left in him, that Anakin is gone and has been truly destroyed by Darth Vader, if you will. Either way here, no matter how the Kenobi series may or may not try to use this line, I honestly don't think it's referring or originally referring to some type of encounter between them, or that Lucas was trying to imply that Obi-Wan had ever tried to save Anakin or plead with him in the same way Luke is trying to do here. Instead, what I think is implied here is much better or more fitting when you really stop and think about it. And so to begin to figure out what is intended, we first have to keep in mind that Obi-Wan was quite literally Anakin's teacher for years and years. You could even say he basically raised him from the age of 9 onwards, which means, obviously, Obi-Wan no doubt said or taught Anakin a great many things about the dark side over those years, things that later turned out to be wrong from Vader's point of view. We even have what Vader says immediately after this line about Obi-Wan once thinking as you do.
You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
Basically, Vader is simply saying that Obi-Wan never understood the power of the dark side, the hold it can have over a person. He's not talking about a particular incident where Obi-Wan tried to save him after the fact. He's referring to the whole thing, all of his training, that Obi-Wan was always just wrong about the dark side and the way it works. There's also another very important thing to keep in mind here, one that makes these lines and this whole scene even more fantastic in my opinion.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Vader fully believes that Obi-Wan was the one and the only one who ever trained Luke. He has absolutely no idea that Yoda is not only, or was, still alive and out there, but that he actually did the bulk of Luke's training. Heck, for all Vader knows, Obi-Wan could have raised and trained Luke from birth or from a very young age, the same way Kenobi had trained and raised him from a rather young age. Vader could even be assuming that Kenobi is or was like a father figure to Luke, the same way, to some degree, Anakin would have looked at Obi-Wan in that light, as like a father, though yes, the two obviously become more like brothers in the end. Nevertheless, Vader likely believes they have some common ground here when it comes to Obi-Wan, that neither of them had a real father, but that they had the same teacher and father figure.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
And so what Vader likely means here is that Luke is saying something that he knows Obi-Wan would have said or believed, that Luke was taught to believe the same things about the dark side from Obi-Wan that he once was. Not that, again, Vader is referring to some sort of specific incident where Obi-Wan tried to save him. And for me, and you're free to disagree as usual, I think the scene is better this way and begins to explain how Vader, or Anakin, could really start to see himself in his son, and maybe why he eventually can or does turn from the dark side and save him. That in Luke, he's seeing what he could have and should have been had he stayed true to Obi-Wan's teachings and not fallen to the dark side, and that ultimately Obi-Wan and Luke were right, you can turn from it. He's not saying Obi-Wan once tried to save me, he's saying once upon a time Obi-Wan taught me the same things and the same way he taught you, and turns out, in the end, he was right. Well, that's all I've got for this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think these lines from Vader in Return of the Jedi really mean. And tell me if you like this shorter, quick dive video, and if you do, I'll try to make more in the future. Whatever the case may be, you know what to do. Leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.